I didn't believe the videos at first. That's the thing I keep replaying in my head now, even after everything. Even after the smell of damp carpet somehow still creeps into my apartment whenever the air conditioner kicks on. I saw the clips. I read the posts. I watched shaky live streams with comment sections full of laughing emojis and people typing the same joke over and over. Don't know clip, bro. Bro found level 0. Fake as hell. ARG marketing. Backrooms are back, LOL. It was always the backrooms like that. Capital B. A place with its own mythology, its own rules, its own fake maps and fan-made monsters and challenge videos. For years, it had been just another internet legend dragged around by bored people and content creators desperate for views. A grainy hallway, yellow wallpaper, fluorescent lights buzzing overhead, endless rooms, and that old story everyone knew by now. If you slip out of reality in exactly the wrong way, you end up there. A modern ghost story, a meme, a joke. Then, around the beginning of October, the videos started changing. They stopped looking cinematic, stopped looking planned. The fake ones were easy to spot because they were too polished, too dramatic. They had orchestral music and edited jump scares and giant impossible creatures with too many teeth. But the new clips didn't have any of that. Most were less than 30 seconds long. Most ended suddenly. There were no endings, no reveals, no clever payoffs. Just ordinary people filming ordinary places when something impossible happened to the floor, or the wall, or the angle of a hallway. A grocery store aisle that stretched too far. An office corridor where the carpet pattern didn't repeat right. A maintenance worker standing in front of a drywall partition, pressing his hand into it like it had turned soft as wet bread. A girl in a college dorm laughing while her friend recorded her trying to lean against the wall, only for her elbow to sink in up to the bone, before both of them started screaming. The comments were still full of jokes, but the tone shifted. More people were asking where it happened. More people were trying to find the people in the clips. A couple of usernames started appearing over and over, saying the same thing every time. Take off your shoes. Listen for the hum. If the room feels larger with your eyes closed, leave immediately. That was when it stopped being funny to me. Not because I believed it. Exactly. I just recognized the pattern. I work in online archival media, fancy term for a boring job. I collect, catalog, verify, and preserve digital recordings for a small research organization that mostly contracts with universities and local news outlets. Broken metadata, corrupted files, old surveillance footage, dead links, authenticity checks. I spend all day looking at things people upload in a panic and things people try to fake for attention. Enough of that work gives you instincts. You learn how lies move. You learn how hoaxes spread. Most of all, you learn that when too many unrelated people start making the same thing up in the same messy, inconsistent way, something is wrong. My boss, Dana, gave me the Backrooms folder because everyone else in the office thought it was funny. "Congrats," she said, dropping a sticky note onto my desk. "You're officially our expert in haunted wallpaper." I barely looked up. "I hate you." "You say that every week." She was right. I did. Dana was one of those people who always looked like she had just returned from a brisk walk through an emergency. Short hair, silver hoops in both ears, coffee permanently in hand, eyes that somehow managed to look exhausted and amused at the same time. She ran the office with the kind of energy that made everyone else nervous. She leaned against my cubicle wall and nodded toward my monitor. "The university in Belmere wants a preliminary report. They've had 3 separate students submit incident statements after seeing one of the viral videos. Campus security is worried about copycat behavior." Meaning idiots trying to walk through walls? Meaning idiots trying to walk through walls. I sighed and clicked open the folder. There were 42 clips inside, sorted by date and supposed origin. At first glance, it was the usual garbage. Compression artifacts, staged reactions, edited shadows. But then, I reached file 17. No title, no source attached, just a raw upload with partial timestamp data and no sound for the first 6 seconds. The video opened in what looked like the back hallway of a dentist's office. Beige walls, gray-blue carpet tiles, a framed print of flowers hanging crooked. The camera was pointed toward an open door at the far end of the hall. Someone was breathing hard behind it, like they'd been running. There was a woman's voice, shaky and too far away to make out. Then the person filming whispered, "No, no, no, don't go in there." The woman at the end of the hall stepped into view. She looked normal. Scrubs, badge, hair tied back. Maybe a dental assistant or a receptionist. Her left shoe was missing. She was crying and saying over and over, "It's bigger now. It's bigger now." The camera operator started toward her. That was when the light changed. It didn't flicker. It stretched. I don't know how else to say it. The fluorescent lights overhead didn't blink out. They elongated, smearing into pale lines that made the hallway look longer than it should have been. The woman backed away from the open door behind her and vanished into the shadow of the room beyond. The camera operator swore and broke into a run. He reached the doorway in 4 seconds. The room inside should have been a small exam room. You could tell by the sink on the left wall and the rolling stool near the entrance. But beyond that, the room went on and on, expanding into a yellow maze of partition walls and stained carpet under rows of humming fluorescent panels. The operator made this noise I've never forgotten. Not a scream, not words, just a breathless, horrified animal sound that ended with the video cutting to black. No effects layering, no visible splice, no obvious AI generation fingerprints. I ran the file through everything we had. Encoding was consistent, sensor noise matched the device, motion blur behaved naturally. I couldn't prove it was real. I also couldn't prove it was fake. That should have been the point where I wrote up a cautious note, kicked it up the chain, and forgot about it. Instead, I took the folder home. I know that sounds dramatic, but truthfully, it was the most ordinary bad decision I've ever made. I ordered noodles, changed into sweatpants, ignored 3 texts from my sister, and sat on my couch with my laptop open on the coffee table while rain tapped against the windows. I told myself I was just curious. I told myself I wanted to see whether the videos shared some production artifact, some viral source, some hidden marker. By midnight, I had built a spreadsheet of recurring details. Missing shoes, buzzing electrical hum in frequencies just below standard ballast noise, rooms or corridors described as too big when not looking directly at them, carpet dampness without visible source, people reporting the smell before the visual distortion, and always, the same color palette emerging at the edge of footage where reality started to bend. Nicotine yellow, weak cream, old office beige. At 1:13 a.m., my sister Mara called. I almost didn't answer. Mara doesn't call unless something's wrong. We text. Everybody texts. Calls are for emergencies, bad news, or drunk confessions. I let it ring twice before picking up. Hey. For a second, all I heard was breathing. Then, are you home? I sat up a little straighter. Yeah? What's going on? Another pause. You need to tell me something honestly. Okay? Have you ever heard anything in your apartment hallway at night? My eyes moved toward my front door before I could stop them. I said, trying to laugh. Sure, my upstairs neighbor has a dog that runs laps at like midnight. No, a hum. I didn't answer. Mara inhaled sharply on the other end, and I knew right away that my silence had told her too much. Oh my God. So you have. Mara, why are you asking me that? I saw one of the videos. You called me over a video? No. Her voice was trembling. I called you because I think I saw the place from the videos. Rain crawled down my windows in crooked lines. Somewhere above me, plumbing groaned in the walls. Mara, I said carefully, where are you right now? At home. That didn't calm me down. And what exactly did you see? She was quiet for long enough that I thought maybe the call had dropped. Then she said, You remember the house on Wren Street? The one next to Mrs. Delaney's? From when we were kids? Yes. A bad feeling slid into my stomach. The Wren Street house had been empty for years. Not abandoned exactly, maintained just enough to avoid looking condemned, but never sold, never rented. The blinds stayed shut. The lawn got cut irregularly. There had always been rumors about it because every neighborhood needs at least one place for kids to dare each other toward. Mara and I used to bike past it after school. Once, when I was 9 and she was 12, we'd found the front door standing open for exactly one afternoon. I still remember the stale smell drifting out and how unusually cold the air had felt on the porch. Why are you bringing that up? I asked. Because I drove past tonight on the way home from Erin's place, she said. And the garage was open. My fingers tightened around the phone. There was light inside. Yellow light. And I thought maybe somebody had finally bought it, so I stopped. Mara?
I know, stupid.
She gave a tiny laugh that snapped apart halfway through.
But I got out of the car and went up the driveway and I looked in.
I was already standing by then, laptop forgotten on the couch.
What did you see? Storage boxes, old paint cans, a lawnmower, she swallowed, and a hallway.
I closed my eyes.
There shouldn't be a hallway in the garage, she said. Not like that. It was at the back wall where the workbench used to be. A yellow hallway with carpet. It looked, I don't know, wrong. Like it was farther away than the garage wall should have been.
Did you go inside?
No.
That answer came too fast. Mara, silence. Mara, did you go inside? She exhaled shakily.
Just a little.
I pressed my hand against my forehead so hard it hurt.
Why would you do that?
Because I thought it was some kind of remodel.
I don't know.
I thought maybe the angle was weird, or there was a room back there I'd forgotten. And then I heard. She stopped. Heard what?
The hum.
We both listened to each other breathing. Then what happened? I asked.
I backed out. Fast. I got in the car and left.
Did anyone see you?
No.
Did anything follow you? It was a ridiculous question. I knew that while I was asking it, but I also knew the answer mattered, because Mara did not say no immediately.
I don't think so.
That was worse. I told her to lock her doors. I told her not to go back to the house. I told her to come stay with me tomorrow if she felt weird or scared, or if anything in her apartment seemed wrong. She agreed to all of it. But in the vague way people agree just to end a conversation they don't want to be having. Before hanging up, she said one more thing.
Eli.
Yeah?
When I got back to my car, my left shoe was untied.
I waited. That's it? I asked. I don't remember it coming untied. Then she hung up. I didn't sleep much after that. Every tiny sound in my apartment became suspicious. The refrigerator motor, the hiss of tires on wet pavement below, water ticking in the radiator. Twice, I got up and checked the front hallway through the peephole. Empty both times. Same narrow apartment corridor with eggshell walls and dim overhead bulbs. Same ugly runner carpet my landlord had probably bought in bulk 20 years ago. At 3:41 a.m., I finally drifted off on the couch. I woke to the smell first. Wet carpet. Not mildew. Not pet odor. Not the sour smell of a flooded basement. This was cleaner somehow, but older, like water trapped under synthetic fibers for decades. It hit the back of my throat and jerked me awake so hard I nearly rolled off the couch. Morning light was leaking around the blinds, pale gray. My laptop had slipped shut beside me.
The smell lingered for maybe 3 seconds, then vanished. I sat perfectly still. My apartment was silent. Then, very faintly, from the hallway outside my front door, I heard fluorescent buzzing. I told myself it was electrical interference, bad wiring, a neighbor vacuuming, a sound from another floor being carried strangely through the building. I told myself lots of things while I crossed the living room and looked through the peephole again. The hallway was empty, but it looked longer. I know how that sounds. I know exactly how it sounds. Because even then, a rational part of me was trying to line up measurements in my head. 6 apartment doors visible from my unit. Laundry alcove at the far end. Fire exit sign above the stairwell door. I had seen that hall almost every day for 3 years. This one had 7 doors. Not 7 total. 7 visible from my peephole. I stepped back so fast I hit the coat rack behind me and sent my keys clattering to the floor. When I looked again, there were 6 doors, exactly as there should be. I didn't go into work that morning. I called Dana and lied, said I had a fever. She immediately accused me of faking, but when I didn't banter back, she went quiet. "You okay?" she asked. "Yeah," I said. That was not convincing. I thought about telling her. Instead, I said, "Did you ever find a source on file 17? "Nope." "Why?" "No reason." "You sound weird." "Thanks." "Eli." I stared at my front door. "Just send me the Belmere report template," I said. "I'll work from home." After we hung up, I called Mara. No answer. I texted. Nothing. I waited 10 minutes, then called again. Straight to voicemail. The third time, the line connected, but instead of Mara's voice, I heard only static and that soft, familiar electrical hum underneath it. Steady as breathing. Then, very far away, my sister said, "I think there's a hallway in my kitchen." The call cut out. I was out the door in less than 30 seconds. The hallway outside my apartment looked normal again, and that almost made it worse. Normal walls, normal carpet, normal, weak lighting. I ran for the stairs instead of waiting for the elevator, taking them 3 at a time, fumbling my keys, nearly slipping on the concrete landing between floors. On the second floor landing, I stopped. There was a shoe sitting in the corner by the window. A woman's sneaker. White, scuffed, damp around the sole. Mara's size. And written across the rubber toe in black marker, in my sister's cramped, hurried handwriting, were 3 words. Don't follow hums. I didn't touch the shoe. I wish I could say that was because I was thinking clearly, that I recognized it as some kind of warning or contamination risk or evidence to preserve. The truth is simpler. Something in me recoiled so hard at the sight of it that my body refused to get any closer. I just stood there on the landing, staring. The window beside it showed a washed-out slice of morning sky, gray clouds, a few distant rooftops. Completely normal. Completely wrong. Because Mara didn't live in my building, and yet her shoe was sitting 2 floors below my apartment like she'd just stepped out of it and walked away barefoot. I forced myself to move. I took out my phone and snapped a picture, hands shaking just enough to blur the edges. Then I called her again, straight to voicemail. I didn't leave a message. I didn't know what I'd even say. "Hey, I found your shoe in my stairwell. Call me back if you're trapped in a spatial anomaly." Instead, I did the next worst thing. I picked it up. It was cold. Not just left by a window in early spring cold. Indoor cold. Like something that had been sitting in air-conditioned darkness for hours. The fabric was damp, but not wet enough to drip. When I turned it over, I saw faint smears of something darker along the sole. Not mud. Not quite. More like staining. Old. Uneven. Absorbed into the rubber. And underneath that, barely visible unless the light hit just right, was a pattern I recognized immediately. Tiny, repeating diamonds. Carpet texture. My stomach dropped. I shoved the shoe into my backpack and ran the rest of the way down. Mara's apartment was across town, a 15-minute drive if traffic cooperated. That morning, it didn't. Every red light felt intentional. Every slow car in front of me felt like an obstacle placed just to stretch the distance a little longer. I kept calling her between lights. Nothing. At one point, I tried to rationalize it. Maybe she'd dropped the shoe earlier somehow. Maybe someone else picked it up. Maybe the writing was a coincidence. No, it wasn't. Because I knew Mara's handwriting. I knew the way she pressed too hard on certain letters. The way her O's came out slightly flattened. The way the ink would pool at the ends of strokes when she was in a hurry. She wrote that message. She just didn't write it in any place that made sense. By the time I reached her building, my hands were slick on the steering wheel. Her apartment complex was one of those low, sprawling ones with identical doors and narrow exterior walkways. Beige siding, brown trim. The kind of place you forget the moment you leave it. I parked crooked, left the engine running, and jogged up the stairs to her unit. Door closed, lights off. I knocked. "Mara?" No answer. I knocked again, louder. "Mara, it's me. Open the door." Still nothing. I tried the handle, unlocked. That stopped me for half a second. Mara was careful, always had been. Doors locked, windows checked, routines followed. The fact that it was unlocked meant one of two things. She had left in a hurry, or she hadn't left at all. I pushed the door open. Her apartment looked normal, too normal. The living room was exactly as she kept it. Blanket folded over the couch arm, coffee mug on the table, TV remote placed neatly beside it. No signs of struggle, no overturned furniture, no broken glass. But the air felt wrong, heavier. Like walking into a room where someone had just been arguing, even if everything looked calm on the surface. "Mara," I called, stepping inside. My voice sounded slightly muffled. That was the first thing I noticed. The second was the smell. Faint, but there. Wet carpet. I moved slowly through the apartment, checking each room. Bedroom, empty. Bed made. Bathroom, light off. Mirror clean. Nothing unusual. Then I reached the kitchen and stopped. At first glance, it looked completely ordinary. Small, square, cheap tile floor, white cabinets, a narrow counter with a sink under the window. But the far wall was wrong. It was too far away. I blinked. It snapped back into place. Normal distance, normal proportions. I took a step forward. It stretched again. Not visibly, not like in the videos. It was more subtle than that. A feeling. A shift in depth. Like my eyes couldn't quite agree on where the wall actually was. And underneath it all, that hum. Low, constant, just at the edge of hearing. I remembered the comments. "Take off your shoes." I looked down, still wearing them. For a second, I hesitated. The rational part of my brain screamed that this was insane, that I was standing in my sister's kitchen, contemplating following instructions from anonymous internet users who might as well have been trolls. Then, I remembered the shoe in my bag. Slowly, I stepped out of mine. The tile was cold under my socks. The hum got louder. Not actually louder, just clearer, like removing a barrier. I swallowed. "Okay," I muttered to no one. "Okay, just look." I took another step toward the far wall. The smell intensified immediately. Damp, stale, synthetic. And the wall wasn't a wall anymore. It was a hallway. Yellow. Endless. I froze in the doorway of the kitchen, heart hammering so hard it hurt. This was it. This was the thing from the videos. Not a screen, not a recording, not something I could pause or rewind or analyze. It was just there, waiting. The hallway beyond the wall was lit by long fluorescent panels that buzzed in uneven rhythms. The carpet was that same sickly yellow beige, stained in patches that looked darker where moisture had seeped in over time. The walls were covered in faded wallpaper with a pattern so subtle it almost disappeared unless you stared at it too long. And it went on forever. No doors, no windows, just turns, left, right, branching out of sight. "Mara," I called, my voice trembling. The sound didn't travel right. It felt like it got swallowed after a few feet, absorbed into the space instead of echoing. I stepped closer. The edge where tile met carpet wasn't clean. It blurred slightly, like the two materials didn't fully agree on where one ended and the other began. I crouched and reached out. My fingers hovered inches above the carpet. Every instinct I had screamed at me to stop. Instead, I touched it. Warm. That was the worst part. Not wet, not slimy, just warm. Like it had its own internal temperature, slightly above the room around it. I jerked my hand back. From somewhere deep in the hallway, something shifted. Not a sound exactly, more like a change in pressure, like the space had noticed me. I stood up slowly. "Mara," I said again, quieter this time. And then, very faintly, I heard her. "Eli." The voice came from the left, not loud, not clear, but unmistakably hers. Relief hit me so hard my knees nearly gave out. "I'm here," I shouted. "Where are you?" A pause. Then, "Don't," the rest cut off into static. The hums surged. I took a step into the hallway. Nothing happened. No dramatic shift. No sudden drop. Just carpet under my feet instead of tile. I turned back immediately. The kitchen was still there. Same cabinets, same window, same everything. But it looked smaller, farther away than it should have been. "Okay," I whispered. "Okay, this is fine." It wasn't fine. I knew it wasn't fine. But Mara was in there, somewhere, and I wasn't leaving without her. I took another step forward, then another. The hum settled into a steady rhythm around me, almost like breathing. The air felt thicker, harder to move through, carrying that constant damp smell that clung to the back of my throat. "Stay where you are," I called. "I'm coming to you." No response. I reached the first turn. Left. I hesitated. "Don't follow hums." The words from the shoe flashed through my mind, but the hum was everywhere now. There was no direction to avoid it, no way to move without following it. So I turned left. The hallway continued exactly the same. Same walls, same lights, same endless stretch, except there was a shoe on the floor. I stopped. It was identical to the one in my backpack. Mara's other sneaker. This one was upright, placed neatly against the wall like someone had set it there on purpose. I approached slowly. No writing on this one. But the laces were undone. And the inside was damp. I didn't pick it up. Instead, I looked ahead. The hallway stretched on, unchanged. But now, I could hear something else. Footsteps. Soft, bare, somewhere ahead of me. "Mara," I said. The footsteps stopped. Silence. Then, from much closer than before, "Eli." I spun around. The hallway behind me was empty, but the kitchen, The kitchen was gone. In its place was more hallway, identical, endless. I felt something inside my chest tighten in a way that had nothing to do with fear and everything to do with understanding. I wasn't standing in my sister's apartment anymore. I didn't know how far I'd walked. I didn't know when the exit had disappeared. I only knew one thing for certain. I had just made the exact mistake the videos never showed the ending of. And somewhere in the endless yellow maze, something had learned my name. I didn't run. That's the part people always get wrong in stories like this. They imagine panic, screaming, sprinting blindly through endless halls while something chases you. But when you realize there's no a way to run to, when every direction is the same, you don't run. You listen. You stand very, very still. And you listen for what doesn't belong. The hum was constant now, wrapping around me like a second atmosphere. But underneath it, faint and uneven, I could still hear those footsteps, bare, soft, moving, then stopping, moving, then stopping, and always just out of sight. "Mara," I said again, quieter this time. A pause. Then, from somewhere ahead and slightly to the right, "Don't follow." The voice was hers, but stretched, like the audio had been pulled too thin. I swallowed. "Where are you?" No answer. Instead, the lights above me flickered, not fully, just a subtle dip in brightness, like something passing between me and the source. My instincts finally caught up with me. Something was wrong with the voice. Not just the distortion, the timing. It responded too quickly, or too slowly, like it wasn't actually reacting to me in real time. Like it was replaying. I took a slow step backward. The carpet gave slightly under my weight, warmer now than before. Another step. The footsteps resumed, behind me. I stopped breathing. They stopped too. We stayed like that, locked in silence for what felt like minutes but couldn't have been more than a few seconds. Then, very close to my ear, in a voice that was unmistakably Mara's, "Eli." I turned. Nothing. Just the same hallway, same lights, same stained carpet. But now I could feel it. That pressure again. Closer. Watching. I forced myself to think. Videos, patterns, rules, missing shoes, the hum. Rooms that felt bigger when you weren't looking directly at them. And if the room feels larger with your eyes closed, leave immediately. I shut my eyes. Instantly, the space expanded. Not physically, I didn't move, but the sense of distance stretched outward in every direction. Like the hallway had unfolded into something massive, something impossible to map. And somewhere inside that vastness, something shifted. I opened my eyes again, gasping. The hallway snapped back to its narrow, claustrophobic shape. "Okay," I whispered. "Okay." That's bad. That meant I wasn't just in the back rooms. I was in a part of it that was active, changing, aware. I reached into my backpack with shaking hands and pulled out Mara's shoe. I don't know why. Maybe because it was the only real thing I had left that connected me to her, to the world outside this place. Maybe because she had left it for me. Or maybe because some part of me hoped it would do something, anything. I held it out in front of me. Nothing happened. The hum continued. The lights buzzed. The hallway stretched on. Then, drip. I froze. A dark spot appeared on the carpet a few feet ahead. Another, and another, spreading outward in uneven circles. Wet. But there was nothing above them. No ceiling leak, no pipe, no source. Just moisture seeping up from beneath the carpet. The smell intensified immediately. Rotting, damp, old, wrong. And then I saw it. Footprints, bare, forming one by one in the wet patches, leading toward me. I stumbled back. The prints kept appearing. Step, step, step. Something invisible was walking straight toward me. "Stop," I said, my voice breaking. The footsteps didn't slow. "Stop!" They kept coming. Closer, closer, until they stopped inches from my feet. Silence. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. Slowly, carefully, I looked up, and for a fraction of a second, I saw it. Not clearly, not fully, just enough for my brain to reject it. A shape that almost looked like a person, but stretched too tall, its limbs too long, its head tilted at an angle no spine should allow. Its surface flickered between textures: skin, wallpaper, shadow, never settling on one. And its face was trying to be Mara's. Trying, failing, resetting, like it couldn't quite remember how she looked. Then it was gone. The footprints vanished. The wet spots remained. I collapsed against the wall, shaking. "That's not you," I whispered. "That's not you." From somewhere far away, deeper in the maze, I heard her again. This time, clear. "Eli, don't listen to it." I snapped my head up. "Mara!" "I'm here," she shouted. "Just don't look at anything that looks like me, unless I say your name twice." I stared down the hallway. "Say it," I yelled. "Say my name twice." Silence. Then, "Eli." Too slow, too careful. I backed away immediately. "Nope," I muttered. "Nope, not doing that." The lights flickered again, this time longer, darker. When they came back, the hallway had changed. The wallpaper pattern was different. The stains were gone. And the hum? The hum had shifted pitch. Lower, deeper. I felt it in my chest now, vibrating through bone instead of just sound. That couldn't be good. Eli. I spun toward the voice. Mara! Eli! Eli! Relief hit me like a shockwave. 2 times, correct. I'm here, I shouted. Don't move, she yelled. I'm coming to you. I hesitated. Everything about this place punished movement. But this felt right. I stayed where I was.
Seconds passed. Then a minute. Then 2. The hum grew louder. The lights dimmed slightly, like the place was focusing. And then, at the far end of the hallway, I saw her. Barefoot, one shoe missing, hair messy, face pale, eyes wide with the kind of fear you don't fake. Mara, I breathed. Don't move, she said again, walking slowly toward me. It copies voices, not patterns. It can't get the timing right if you force it. I nodded, even though she was too far away to see clearly. She kept coming, step by step, normal, human, real, until she got about 10 feet away and stopped. Her expression didn't change, but her body stilled. Too still. Mara, I said. She didn't respond. Then, in a perfectly calm voice, she said, Eli. Once, my blood ran cold. I took a step back. Her head tilted, too far, too smooth. And then she smiled. It stretched wider than her face should allow. Behind me, Mara whispered, right next to my ear. Wrong one. I ran. I didn't think, didn't choose a direction. I just ran. The hallway twisted under my feet, turns appearing where there hadn't been any, corners folding into each other, like the space was rearranging itself to keep me inside. The hum roared now, overwhelming everything. Voices layered over it. My voice, Mara's voice. Dozens of versions of both, calling, whispering, laughing. I slammed around a corner and nearly crashed into a wall that hadn't been there before. Dead end. No, no, no. The carpet beneath me shifted, softened. My foot sank slightly, then more, like stepping into soaked ground. I yanked it free just in time. The floor wasn't stable anymore. It was giving way, consuming. I turned and saw a doorway, not a hallway, not a turn, a doorway, plain, rectangular. Wrong, because it didn't match anything else beyond it. Darkness, no yellow, no lights, no hum. Just black and silence. Behind me, the voices surged. Closer. Closer. Mara, screamed my name. Eli. Eli, wait. Multiple versions, layered, desperate.
perfect. Too perfect. I didn't look back. I ran through the doorway. I hit tile hard enough to knock the air out of my lungs. Bright light flooded my vision. Real light. White. Clean. Buzz-free. I coughed, rolled onto my side, and sucked in air that didn't smell like damp decay. For a few seconds, I couldn't process anything. Then,
Sir? Sir? Can you hear me?
I blinked. A ceiling, white panels, a fluorescent fixture, but normal, steady. A face hovered above me. Paramedic. Real. Human. "You're okay," she said. "Just stay still." I turned my head. I was in a kitchen. Mara's kitchen. The wall was a wall again. Solid. Normal. No hallway. No yellow. No hum. "Mara?" I croaked. The paramedic hesitated. "We didn't find anyone else here," she said carefully. Something inside me broke a little. "No," I whispered. "No, she's." "We got a call from a neighbor," she continued. "Said they heard shouting. When we arrived, the door was open. You were on the floor." I stared at the wall. It looked so small now, so harmless, like it had never been anything else. "That's not possible," I said. But it was, because I was here, and Mara wasn't. They told me later that I'd been alone in the apartment for at least 20 minutes before anyone arrived. No signs of forced entry, no second person, no footprints except mine, no missing persons report filed under her name. That last part didn't make sense. I tried calling her again from the hospital. Her number was disconnected. Her social media, gone. Photos on my phone, still there, but fewer than I remembered. Like something had started erasing her. Not completely, just enough, like she was slipping between records, between places, between realities. It's been 3 weeks. I haven't gone back to my apartment. I'm staying in a hotel across town. Somewhere with bright lighting, hard floors, no carpets. I keep the TV on at night just to drown out any background noise. But sometimes, when everything's quiet, I still hear it. That hum, low, distant, getting closer. And yesterday, when I stepped out of the shower, I noticed something on the bathroom floor. A footprint. Bare. Damp. Not mine. Leading out into the room and stopping right at the wall. I haven't touched it. I haven't gone near it. Because I know now, this wasn't a one-time thing. The videos were right. The posts were right. The warnings, they were all real. The Backrooms aren't a place you find. They're a place that finds you. And once it does, it doesn't let go. Not completely. Not ever. If you start to notice it, the smell, the hum, the way a room feels bigger when you're not looking directly at it, leave immediately. Don't investigate. Don't record. Don't step closer. And whatever you do, if you hear someone you love calling your name, make sure they say it twice. Because if they don't, it's already too late. I think it's in the walls now. I think it's learning. And I think, no, I know. The Backrooms are back.